definitely the changes have happened at a surface level, you know, but they are penetrating to, you know, there are two kinds of influences. One is the need to engage with the world economically. And when you do that, you need to adapt certain common business practices. You know, the way you dress, the kind of foods you eat, the more you travel, you know. So if you're used to eating very, very strict vegetarian food, you have to figure out how to eat that same food in France, in Germany, in America, things like that. If you are not, it's not an Indian custom to shake hands traditionally, because it's considered rude to touch someone else. So the traditional Indian greeting is a namaste, but you can't necessarily go do that. You also have to learn how to shake hands, you know. And in the West, it is considered polite when you're talking to someone to look them eye to eye. Yeah. In India and in the rest of Asia, it's considered rude. It's considered aggressive behavior. Yes. So it's disrespectful. So if a young person is talking to an older person, you never stare at them eye to eye. You know, you look down and listen. That's respectful. You know, whereas in the West, they say, he's not looking directly at me. What does he have to hide? Different interpretation. So I think when you're integrating economically, Indians have to learn about foreign ways. And the other thing is that foreigners also have to learn about Indian ways. So for instance, if you're a man working in India, you may not casually touch an Indian woman, because maybe that's a mistake. Maybe it's okay. It depends on the woman. But you kind of have to, you know, understand a little bit. You know, so that is one. The other thing is also this pop culture, you know, and the way American pop culture is sweeping around the world, it's sweeping through India as well, you know. So if you have rap music in America, then you've got rap music in Hindi, just as you've got rap music in French, you know, and you hear it on the radio, and on the Italian radio you've got Italian rap, German rap, it's everywhere, you know, which is actually, it's American street culture, right? And the same, the jeans culture, the wearing of the baseball cap backwards to show that you're cool, right? It's in colleges here, mini skirts, languages. So there's also the pop culture of the world, which is kind of this global thing, which is the same thing as cool in New York and Bangalore and Tokyo, you know. So that's the other thing as well. But I think the deepest changes, which is in personal life, you know, they're much slower, you know, because I think Indians, there are, as you say, a core set of values which have to do with family, which have to do with spirituality, and these are very precious to India. And so Indians feel very reluctant about losing them. And I think that's where the biggest debate is. You know, whenever you see people talk about, is this an Indian value? What they're trying to determine is that, is this going to be threatening to us spiritually and to our sense of spirituality? Is it going to be threatening to family? So you always have that in Indian society. For men and women who are willing to embrace, you know, unusual paths, you can do that, you know. And in fact, I have a gay friend of mine who is very socially prominent, and he says, for instance, that he lives with his partner quite openly, and he says that India is a place that allows you to live how you like, as long as you don't want to make a political statement out of it. You know, the minute you kind of say, oh no, we're now going to, you know, make it very political and very, very noisy, then people go, hey, wait a minute, this is not our true value. And of course, how do you, it becomes such a messy discussion after that, because if you have 1 billion people, a huge country, many different cultures within this country, it's not like it's one unified, you know, sensibility, then how do you decide what is then an Indian value, right? I mean, just think about the history, it's thousands of years old. You know, we are a modern democracy for about 60 years, close to now. Before that, you had European rule for about 300 short years. Before that, you had Islam in India for about 1,000 years. Yes? Before that, you had variations of Hindu thinking for about 2,000, 3,000 years. Before that, you had the Indus Valley civilization. So how do you decide? Right? It's all India, in a way. And I think these are some of the biggest issues that Indians are going to have to solve, which is, you know, how do we maintain a balance between becoming a more consumer society and becoming a more spiritual society, between the two. How do we balance family commitment, which is important to us, and work commitment, which is important to our future and the future of our children? You know, how do you shift development? How do you develop your cities, one, and how do you shift development away from the cities as well at the same time? You know, when I was a kid in Bangalore, we had a population of 2 million. Now Greater Bangalore is 10 million. 10 million for the same infrastructure. And I think there is a sense, well, you know, with the economic renaissance, there's also simultaneously a renaissance in exploring our own cultural values and our cultural heritage, I should say, and spiritual values, and exploring all of that. So I think people see that as a positive sign, because you're not just abandoning spirituality to completely embrace a extremely decadent consumer-based life, though you are trying to kind of straddle the two. So that is one. And I think the other sense that people get is the strength of people-to-people bonding, which is in family, which is in community, you know. And I think these are things that make people feel good about themselves. Maybe not just in India, you know, but I think without a spiritual centering, you feel lost, directionless, you know, and without people to support and for you to support back, again you feel lost. You know, and I think there is definitely the sense of, yes, this is part of the cycle of Indian history, you know, and more cycles will come. You know, that this country will be somewhere else in 5,000 years is absolutely clear.